In the last video, which was my personal favorite, we talked about how if you think about what things you're allowed to do to equations, you can figure out what things you're allowed to do to rows of matrices. Now that we've got these three different things we're allowed to do to rows of matrices, we want to be able to write those things down in terms of equations or commands that are pretty simple to follow. So check it out, guys. One of the things we're allowed to do to this matrix right here is switch any two rows. If I want to switch rows 2 and 3, then I can make a little note to myself that might look like this: R2, arrow R3. The fact that the arrow goes in both directions is a way of saying I want to switch rows 2 and 3, and that's the simplest example of a row equation. Now guys, there are a couple of other things we're allowed to do. We're allowed to multiply a row by a number, and we're allowed to add or subtract two rows together. Now, the most common sort of row operation you're going to see is actually going to combine these guys together. And so it might look something like this. We might have this matrix right here, and we might want to do something fancy like take 2 times row 1 plus 3 times row 2. If we're going to do that, we have to figure out where that answer is going to go, and so maybe that answer is going to go in place of row 1. That means my equation will look like 2 times R1 plus 3 times R2, arrow R1. And the arrow R1 is reminding us that once we've figured out the left-hand side, the result is going to take the place of row 1. Now let's actually go ahead and carry this guy out. Over here we've got 2 times row 1, and here we're going to lay out 3 times row 2. The equation says to add those guys together, number by number. Here's what you get when you do that. And finally, the equation says that this answer is going to take the place of our new row 1. And guys, be careful here. What that means is row 2 and row 3 stay exactly the same as they were in the very beginning. Even though it felt like we multiplied row 2 by 3, that was just a temporary off to the side thing. All right, guys, that's row operations for you.